So our next topic is identity and access management, which is in short it is called IAM. So utilize IAM to manage access to AWS resources. What kind of resources? It can be any type of resources such as Amazon EC2, Amazon S3 bucket, and then using IAM you can control who has the authority or permission to terminate any instances such as S3 or EC2. So basically, if you want to access any resources in Amazon AWS platform, you have to go through IAM. Initially, you will create the root user, but root user it is not advisable to every time use root user day-to-day activity. Rather, we must have this IAM account. Okay, so that means one can obtain the termination of EC2 instances or in fact any other instances using IAM, because I mean the person who will be using IAM have the permission to many resources that AWS provides. So the more the detailed access right to IAMs are no, these are the followings of the access right. First is determine who is allowed to access the resources. This is the first thing. Who means its identity. Okay. Second is specify which resources can be accessed and the actions that can be performed on them. Third one is define how the resources can be accessed with every AWS account. So basically I am user. Um, so and also we have to remember that IAM is a no cost AWS account features. So IAM can be divided into three parts. One is who, which and how. Okay, so who means identity. So if you what is the identity of the user? So identify the entity such as user, group or role that is to allow to access the resources to this user, group or role. Okay, and then second one is which, that means authorization. So specify which resources can be accessed. And third part is how, authentication, that means define the method or the process by which the identity is verified. So these are the three things. So if you want to look at it in a diagrammatic view, so it will look like this. So basically first one is AWS IAM, which is like apply fine-grained permission to AWS service and resources. And then who is going to access the IAM, workforce users, workloads with IAM, and then finally who can access, that means permission with IAM policies. So here policies will be defined, policies will be there which is independent of anything. So those policies you can access, and then finally what resources within your AWS organizations, what resources, let's say EC2 or S3 buckets or anything. So who can access what resources. Okay, so there are four major components of IAM. First is IAM user. So IAM user should have a unique name and no spaces in the name should be there. Okay, so user means a person or applicant that can authenticate with an AWS account. That is called IAM user. It's an individual thing. So it's like it should have a unique name, no spaces in the name should be there. Second is IAM group. So a group is efficient mechanism to apply permission. If you have to find the group and apply access policies to it, you can add or remove users to the group without needing to attach any policy directly to each user. So basically groups are useful to carefully find access to different responsibility teams such as DBAs, developers and auditors. So IAM group is a collection of IAM user basically. So when you define IAM user, you select what type of access the user is permitted to use. Similarly with the group also, the group is efficient mechanism to apply permission, and you have to find the group and apply access policy also. And third one is the IAM policy. IAM policy is nothing but document that defines which resources can be accessed and level of access to each resources. That is called access policy. Okay, and then third one is And also related to the identity that we saw just in the previous uh, slide, which is identity, that means who. This identity, actually when you create an identity account, you begin with one sign-in identity that has complete access to all AWS services and resources in the account. The identity is called the AWS root user. As I mentioned, initially you have to create a root user, and it is accessed by signing with the email address and password that you use to create the account. But never use root user for everyday work. Okay, rather use IAM to set up other identities in addition to your root user, such as administrator, analyst, developer. Grant them access to the resources they need to succeed in the task. So that means we should not use root user everyday activity. And and then when talking about the policies, after this IAM group, these policies, like, IAM policies define permissions. We have to remember that. So for an action, so these policies, this permission, this IAM policy that defines permissions for an action regardless of the method that you use to perform the operations. Okay, so that means it is independent. Policies is a document which defines access to one or more services. So without policies, services cannot be accessed. So policies are created independently, that you have to remember. Okay, independent in the sense that users, independently of users and groups. So they can be attached to groups and users in order to enable the access control that they define. So, and then finally we have the roles. Roles means a role is a mechanism to grant temporary access to AWS services. So the role is nothing but a temporary access. A user can assume a role to access a service that is not normally available. So these are the four things. First is IAM user, second is IAM group, third one is IAM policy, and then fourth one is IAM role. Okay, and then let us go further. So how to access IAM? So how the authentication happens? So two way we can access IAM. One is programmatic access, another one is AWS management console access. So programmatic access is through programming it happens. So you can assign programmatic access only, or you can assign like both, console access and programmatic access, both are possible. Individually also you can assign this access, either programmatic access or either AWS management console access, or both. So in case of programmatic access, means user will be asked to present access key ID and secret access key. So these two key pair has to be presented. When they made an AWS API call, they will be asked to use AWS CLI, that is command line interface, and AWS SDK, software development kit. So these two way we can access this AWS programmatic access. Okay. Second thing is that AWS management console. AWS management console is quite popular. Like if you, in general, we log in through AWS management console and access all the resources. So it will be having 12-digit access ID or alias, and then it will be having username and IAM password. So username should be unique, and it should not be like it will be unique. Username name should be unique. Okay, and then sometimes this enables MFA prompts for an authenticate model. That means MFA prompt means multi-factor authentication. Okay, so that is there. So some points, important points. What are the important points is that root account created by default, so not to be shared with anyone. Second is user can be grouped. So you can see here developers group and the marketing groups are there, but some person is common to both the groups. So a special kind of permission can be given to that person who is common to both the group. Some members can be working in both groups. Okay, and then IAM permission is there. So IAM permission, many users a group usually are assigned to different groups. This can be shown using a JSON file. So in the JSON file is used for this policies and permissions. So you can see this is having version and then statement. So By default, these policies are denial. It will be in denial mode. So basically, let's say this policy, you can see that effect is allow, action is S3, list bucket, resource, this AWS S3 example bucket. Meaning is that allow the group to list the content of a specific S3 bucket, and then this is the first part of the policy. Second part of the policy, effect is denied. Will and the resources that is denied. That means denies the group the ability to terminate a EC2 instances. So this thing is like first part is for allowing S3 bucket list, specific S3 bucket, and then second part of the policy is just to deny EC2 termination of any EC2 instances. So this is two ways. Similarly, another example you can see in another JSON file where you have this programmatic group. Okay, so programmatic group is like S3 write access. That means you can write in an S3 buckets, and then DynamoDB is there. In DynamoDB, what you can do, update item. You can update item. You are allowed to do that. And then in the Lambda, which is again you can invoke functions. An operation group EC2 start instances, EC2 stop instances. CloudWatch put metric data. Meaning is that programmer group has the access, write access to S3, and update item in DynamoDB is allowed, and then invoke Lambda function is done. Operating group start and EC2 instances, and put metric in the CloudWatch. These three things are allowed. So this is another JSON file. Okay, so the policies define the permission of the users, and in AWS apply the least privilege principle. Okay, as per the need. So this is IAM, which is identity and access management. So basically IAM, the users, like IAM users are that it can be divided into four parts. That means first part is IAM user, second part is IAM group, third part is IAM policy, and the fourth part is IAM role. So basically IAM role is temporary access. Okay, and then IAM access authentication can be done in two ways. One is programmatic access, another one is AWS management console. Hope you understood this. Thank you.